I think we're going live. Yeah, I think we're going live now. All right. I see the clock ticking, the counter ticking. Hello, Sue. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
Here we are in gratitude land, one day after American Thanksgiving. It's a relatively quiet day compared to normal, but the show must go on. We're in wrapping up our fourth consecutive year of coming on weekly and reading one tip from this series that I came up with a couple of years back, Get a Clue in 52. And it's always 5 categories, 52 tips. It gives me the ability to come on once a week and read a tip. In the original version, our categories were accountability, communication, marketing, networking, and sales. And then we got a co-authored project with my friend and yours, Vipul Dayal. We did the entrepreneur edition of Get a Clue in 52. And the 5 categories here were personal branding, business acumen, business ownership, leadership and influence, and then work-life balance. And then this year, we got to the version that we're working through right now, which is Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. I always like to mention that I set out on this journey to do something valuable for aspiring and emerging coaches and realized that I was doing a lot for myself. Reliving all of the things that I had been through, reminding myself of some of the things that I still go through, because the struggle to build a coaching practice or earn money as a coach or deliver world-class coaching or endeavor to do anything professional around this skill, this vertical, this profession, whatever you want to call it, of coaching, it's a lot of hard work. It's been a lot of fun, creates a lot of rewards, a lot of benefits, but it's not easy per se. So we've been trying to get at some of those challenges and illuminate them in tip form. And so the 5 categories for Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included, we started off way back. By the way, let me go ahead and welcome everybody to Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. But the first category that we started way back in January, we did 11 tips. First 11 tips from the book were all about self-promotion. This progression from learning how to coach to calling ourselves a coach, being comfortable, getting comfortable being called a coach by somebody else, getting comfortable calling ourselves a coach, getting comfortable telling the world that we're a coach, right? And we're always more than a coach. We're making this point that we have to get comfortable with it first. We have to step into that identity, right? But ultimately to self-promote and not like brag and shamelessly self-promote or willy-nilly, but from a marketing perspective. And we're going to elaborate on that today a little bit. But ultimately, somebody told me once, you're not a coach unless you make, I think he said at the time, $5,000 a month as a coach. If you're not making $5,000 a month coaching, then you can't call yourself a coach. I forget what the numbers were way back when, over a decade ago. But what I'm getting at is coaching could be a hobby. It could be a pastime. It could be a skill set. But if we want to earn money and build a living and make a career or even get anywhere close to calling it a business, we have to self-promote. We have to let the world know that we're coaching, capable of coaching. We consider ourselves a coach. We're able to coach, solve problems as coaches, etc. So we start by saying, hey, I'm a coach, I can coach, but we progress to, hey, I'm a problem solver, and coaching is one of the ways that I solve problems. So we'll get at that as we do more of a review. But after we got done with those 11 tips, then we went into, all right, well, once you've promoted enough, you should have prospects or people that might want to hire you as a coach, right? So then we had 9 tips on engagement or enrollment. Those are the 2 interchangeable terms. If I'm a leader inside of an organization with direct reports and I want to put the skill sets of coaching in my toolbox, as a leader, I'm trying to secure employee engagement. Everything will be better if the employees are engaged, everything. So it's engagement when we're inside of an institution dealing with direct reports. Privately, if we have private practice and we're trying to get clients as a coach, coaching clients, now we want enrollment. We want people to enroll in our coaching programs, our training programs, our retreats, our whatever the program is. We want enrollment or engagement. So we went through 9 tips on that, and it really focused on this proprietary approach that I had to building my career, which I've now made trainable and have trained several others in it who've had successful results, is 2 complimentary coaching sessions. Not 1, not more than 2, not I'll coach you until it works and then you'll refer me. None of that. It's a structured and measured complimentary coaching session number 1 that is there's freedom within the framework, but it's a guided path. And then there's complimentary session number 2. And after the 2 sessions, enrolling, getting permission to lead is so much easier. So that was the focus of those 9 tips. Once they're enrolled, once they're engaged, once they're on board, once we have permission to lead, then it's just motivation plus accountability equals results. And let me shamelessly go ahead and give a shout out to the integrity game, because motivation plus accountability equals results. That's the name of the game down here on the integrity game. That's the subtext for this 10-point model that I've created. It's a different book that I wrote last year. We're building a whole ecosystem around it. But for now, understand that motivation plus accountability equals results comes from coaching. It's all coaches training and how I approach any given session, but also leadership as a whole. We want engagement, we want motivation, we want accountability. The last two are so much easier if we get the first one. So motivation plus accountability equals results, and it's all easier if we get this engagement or enrollment permission to lead first. Then motivation plus accountability could be a hot knife through warm butter. And then what we are doing now as we finish out the year is we're in 12 tips on practice building. And I call it practice building because I don't like calling it business building. And that's kind of like my fun little theme that runs through all of these tips, if not the book as a whole. It's a little pet peeve of mine when I hear certain people call their coaching business a coaching business when I know what it's really like to try to build a coaching business, so much so that I don't even call it a business, because to me, that's not being real or accurate, or I'm not setting myself up for any fidelity or success if I'm lying to myself about what's really going on in my income earning hobby that I built into a thriving practice. But I'm not anywhere near calling what I've got a business, right? And I've been doing this thing for 17 years. So I'm willing to be raw and real and honest about all of that and have a good time doing it, right? And the purpose of all of it is to take some pressure off of us. Like, stop pressuring yourself to be something other than what it really is. We got to be honest about why we're doing it and how we're doing it, and on and on. So what we're getting at with these 12 tips on practice building, and we're getting into the 7th of these 12 today, but let me go ahead and review them. The first tip, and I don't know if maybe I'll screen share, but the first tip, let me just go through them, really quickly. And if it's important to screen share, I will later on, because I have an org chart picture that is at the beginning of every single one of the tips in this section of the book. If you could see a little mini org chart, because these tips correspond with the visual that I've got that I train and I teach and I coach out of, called Org Chart 101 or the Klubeck 12 step, right? Having fun with Org Chart 101, whatever you call it. The bottom line is, if you want to have a business, right, tip number 1 is pay the fee of feasibility. Like, do the work to figure out if it's worth it to run this thing, or if it's worth it to build this thing. And I always think back to the E-Myth Revisited, this beautiful book by Michael Gerber. And we start off the book by learning about Sarah, who made the best pies in town. And everybody told her that she made the best pies in town. As a matter of fact, everybody said, you should open a pie shop. I would buy pies from you. You should open a pie shop, right? And then she opens a pie shop, and now guess what? She's not making pies anymore. She's dealing with vendors. She's sweeping the floor. She's fixing the oven. She's, hiring employees that are keystone copying into each other because they're family members and easy people to hire, but hard to hold accountable. And we start to learn all of the problems and all of the challenges that a small businesses face through this story of Sarah, right? So is it worth it? Right. Like, she went into it like for making pies, like it's easy, right? But selling pies and building a business around making pies has to put a lot of other things on your calendar, a lot of other responsibilities, your initials on other boxes on the org chart, so to speak. So is it worth it? Is this the life you want? What kind of life do you want? How much money does it take to get that life? What do you need to sell in order to make enough money in order to get that life? What do you want to be doing with your time on a day-to-day basis? What positions in your organization do you want to be responsible for? What can you delegate, hire out, etc.? Do you have money and capital and funding for all of that? This is what we're getting at. So pay the fee of feasibility. And if you decide, yeah, it's worth it, it's worth it to run this thing, then run it. If it's worth it to build this thing, all right, build it. Run it, build it, grow it, make sure it runs, make sure it operates. So we have somebody in a COO, a chief operating officer position, reporting to shareholders, whose accountability is it worth it? And then you're going to have all of these departments reporting to a chief operating officer. And so for tip number 43, we went into the operations department to look at research and development, as it's commonly known. I call it product and service development, but in lay terms, like, hey, do you got a menu? What's on your menu? Are you putting stuff on the menu? What's the special? Are we revising the menu? Are we reimagining the menu? Are we at what's on the menu that's selling a lot right now? What's not selling at all? What's in the middle of the menu? What's in the bottom right hand corner? Right? How do people know what they can buy from you? And that's when I go back to what I talked about in the first tips in the book on self-promotion, that we're more than just a coach. And I was planting the seeds back then that if coaching is all you're selling, you're gonna have a hard time growing it to a coaching business. Because if you really want a business, there's all these other accountabilities that need to be met, and making sure there's other stuff on the menu is one of them, right? So we got into tip number 43, and we were talking about menu, product and service. What else? So what's on my menu? People can buy from me. They can buy mentoring. They can buy coaching. They can buy training. They can buy keynote speeches. They can buy e-courses. They can buy books, right? So there's a lot of stuff on the menu. Training programs. I've been constantly adding to my menu over the years, and I'm not done. Right. So what's on your menu, Mr. or Mrs. coaching business owner, right? All right, let's move on. I'm getting the tongue in the cheek. The joviality is starting to emerge. Tip number 44, we left the operations department and we jumped into the marketing department for the first of 2 accountabilities. And very simply, to keep it simple, like, because marketing is like, wow, it's complex, it's confusing. A lot of coaches are like preyed upon by marketers who are marketing to coaches, right? And coaches have a hard time figuring out, well, how do I market myself? What's the right marketing plan, program, tool, strategy? And some marketing pieces are sold to coaches like in a vacuum, but they really aren't going to work optimally until they're connected with all of these other pieces. So funnels and landing pages and graphics and YouTube and social media and high ticket offers and joint ventures and all kinds of different confusion exists out there in the marketing space. But guess what? It's very simple. Info in, you're either bringing information in to the organization, doing market research, studying the market, learning about your customers, learning about your competition, and learning about the market conditions. Or you're putting info out into the market so they know that they can buy something from you. Info in, info out. Of the millions of conversations you could have about marketing, it's all going to come down to these 2 major accountabilities. Am I bringing information into my organization that helps me make good decisions? Then am I pushing information out from my organization that puts people in a position to buy what we're selling? Because we don't have a business unless we got something to sell. That is for sure. We don't have a practice unless we have something to sell. We don't have an income earning hobby unless we're earning income from our hobby, right? And we all love coaching, don't we? Okay. So it follows then that tip number 46 is sales, right? If I've got something to sell, I've researched my market enough to make good decisions about the communication I'm putting out in the market, then somebody might knock on the door. Somebody might want a complimentary session. Somebody might, click the lead to get the lead magnet to come into the funnel so we can market, whatever the case may be. So now we got to convert. And this is what we were talking about last week in tip number 46. Sales is a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word. A lot of people are afraid of sales, afraid of rejection. A lot of people have experienced boiler room, snake oil, heavy pressure sales people in their life, and then they don't want to go ahead and then be that, and they associate sales with the negative experience rather than the real honest, pure, professional approach to communicating a solution to a problem, communicating a solution to a need in a way that is compelling, right? So there's all kinds of strategy and training and tactic and technique and knowledge that we can professionally acquire, right, in order to be a better salesperson. But it starts with understanding that sales is not a bad thing. Sales is not a 4-letter word. It's a 5-letter word. And we don't have revenue if we don't have sales. We don't have business if we don't have revenue, on and on and on. But chronologically, as we move through this org chart, and I think maybe now I will start sharing a little bit. Let me go ahead and go into present. Today, we're at tip number 47. I'm going to start reading word for word in just a moment. But I appreciate the visual that this creates for us when I bring up the visual of Org Chart 101. And just as a quick review, tip number 41 is pay the fee of feasibility. That's the accountability for the owner and the shareholder. They got to decide if this thing, the rest of it, all of this down here, is all of that worth it in order to be a coach, have a coaching business, or whatever you happen to be calling it. Tip number 42 was, okay, run it then. Make sure it runs. If it's worth it to run, make sure it runs. So you've got somebody in this position that's responsible for the operations to make sure the business runs, which means at minimum, these 4 departments are reporting in to the chief operating officer. And from left to right, it's marketing, sales, operations, and finance. So for tip number 43, we went into the operations department for product and service development, or creating the menu, or enhancing the menu, or reimagining the menu, or making sure there's a menu at all. If coaching is the only thing you sell, you don't even need a menu, just coaching, that's it. Why even create a menu? You want a menu when you start to diversify the offerings, to give people choices, to have a lot of different ways to solve problems. So that's this accountability over here. Then I went over here to marketing to talk about info in market research. Let's bring information into our organization. Let's get smart about who we're selling to. Let's get smart about who else is selling to them. And let's get smart about where all of this communication takes place, the marketplace. And now with that intelligence, we're going to be smarter about the information that we put out. Right. So info in, info out. These are accountabilities that any business must meet. And then we moved over here to the sales department so that we have only one accountability to look at here, and that's convert. Convert. If anybody's taking notes at home, write it down. Convert. Convert what? Convert prospects into clients, prospects into customers. So the progression goes John Doe, Jane Doe. We don't know them at all. We might do some, oops, what just happened there? All right. We might do some market research. We might do some market research to find out about our clients. So we might get a name, an email, a phone number. So now they've gone from John or Jane Doe to now it's a lead or a contact, right? But then when we send information to that person and let them know what's on the menu and why it's better or different than anybody else, and if they're interested, if they come a bit closer to us, like, oh, really? You do? You can? You have what? Tell me more, right? Then with any interest demonstrated on the part of the lead, now we have a prospect. Okay, so it's unknown, anonymous to lead to prospect. And then it's this person's job or this department's job to convert prospects into customers, prospects into clients. So that brings us back. Then what, right? Well, then we need to go back in the operations department and give people what they paid for. So here we are in, it's number 7, the 7th accountability in my Org Chart 101 module, but it's tip number 47 in Get a Klu and 52 for coaches, myself included. Now, before I read word for word, let me say hello to you, Sue, and welcome you to another installment of Get a Klu and 52 and ask if you have any questions or comments about what I've reviewed so far before we go ahead and get into today's tip reading.
No, good to be here, and comprehensive review.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot in it, as I think I say it almost every time. But it's good. It's good to have, certainly from the organizational perspective, to understand the link and the flow of how each of the areas fit in. So.
Yeah, the integrity game is like that too. I always, there's 10 points on the model. So I always explain them in the same order, but that doesn't mean we have to interact with it, work with it in that linear progression, right? So you look at, these 12 accountabilities on the chart. It's like, all right, 1, 2, when you see me go into one department for 3 and the other department for 4, it was just my decision on what would be the best chronological approach to communicating what these accountabilities are. And so I'm glad that that's coming through the logic with my numbering system and how I'm presenting this. So thank you for that. All right, with a sip of coffee and a deep breath, I want to thank you for being here and giving me that live interactive energy that I love. And we're going to go ahead and do it word for word. Here we go. If you're following along at home, this is going to be page 190. 190, tip number 47, the R&R game. Here we go. The 7th accountability on Org Chart 101 takes us back into the operations department and follows logically from sales. After we convert them, it's time to serve them. To meet this accountability, we simply must make sure that clients get what they paid for. At a bare minimum, we call this fulfillment. In that the purchase order, request, or agreement gets fulfilled with delivery of the product or service. To meet this accountability well, we must go beyond fulfillment into customer service. The objective of customer service is not fulfillment alone, but fulfilling in such a way as to create repeat and referral customers. We want to make every client so happy that they stay with us, as there is a lifetime value of every client, and tell other people about us, as it is easier to keep a client than to generate a new one. Treating customers with white gloves and red carpet as a client of mine used to say, going the extra mile, creating the value add, developing the rewards programs, offering customization, structuring affiliate programs, sending holiday cards and thank you gifts, bonus for remembering birthdays and names of children and pets, giving away freebies and an attractive swag, designing packaging people don't want to discard, increasing touch points and touches, ensuring access to support, readying retention programs. Learning and respecting communication preferences, requesting feedback, surveys are all examples of what can be done to create, quote, raving fans that will repeat with and refer to your coaching business. All right. A really perhaps not so fun exercise might be to audit all of the people who have ever hired you, asking whether they have renewed or referred, so your coaching business has answers to these questions. Here we go. What is the longest duration of time a client has remained your client? What is the average amount of time someone remains a client? What is the shortest amount of time someone has been a client? How many of your clients have referred at least one person to you? How many have referred more than one person to you? What is the most people any single client has referred to you? What is the average number of referrals you get per client? This exercise is not so fun because the flip side of all of this repeat and referral jazz are the early cancellations, getting ghosted by no-shows, the one-time wonders, complaints, refund requests, negative social media posts, comments, or even lawsuits. How does your coaching business deliver coaching in a way that avoids these negatives in favor of their opposites? If you are like most coaches, myself included, you do not know the answers to most of the questions above and will avoid taking the time to find out if you anticipate any pain in reminding yourself about the clients you lost and why you are not getting more referrals. It comes down to the time you take to imagine, think through, create, and implement customer service initiatives that make your clients repeat and refer. And cue the music. 6 more accountabilities on the chart, 6 more accountabilities. I don't describe my own business as a coaching business. I call it a coaching practice because I cannot honestly tell you the exact answers to most of the customer service KPI questions above, the way a real business should be able to. I have done well to avoid lawsuits and refunds, negative reviews, or brand slaughter, but that is more evidence that I do not have a business than that I do. I'm going to read that again. I have done well to avoid refunds, lawsuits, negative reviews, or brand slaughter, but that is more evidence that I do not have a business than evidence that I do. Right? What's not written there is if I had a real business, I would probably have more refunds, lawsuits, negative. Right? With great power comes great responsibility. The more you scale it, the more vulnerable we are, etc. So when it comes to this accountability, the closest I will get to calling what I have a business is when I make it my business to earn repeat and referral clients. To the music. You nail one down, pass it around. If you are not convinced from this tip that getting clients to repeat and refer business is difficult enough, and auditing your customer service KPIs to find ways to improve is even harder, the next 5 tips reveal several more reasons why coaches struggle to build what I would personally feel comfortable calling a coaching business. 7 down. Is it worth it? Does it run? What does it sell? What must we know about the marketplace? What does and how does the marketplace know about us? How do we convert prospects to clients? And how well do we get repeat and referral clients? And resume the music. 5 more accountabilities on the chart. 5 more accountabilities. We'll take a look at the next one next week. And happy Friday to everybody out there. There you have it. That's tip number 47 and get a clue at 52. We're playing the R&R game, and the R&R game is not rest and relaxation, which we should have more of this Thanksgiving weekend here in the United States. But no, it's repeat and refer. What are we doing to get repeat business? What are we doing to get referral business? I've got clients that have been with me for over a decade. I've got, a wonderful handful of clients that constantly refer business to me. I have referral partners. I think that I've done very well here. And as well as I've done in this area for repeat and refer, I still have the one-hit wonders and the no-shows and the ghosts. And I have had some complaints, and I haven't really had to do refunds. not from like poor service, right? Like, oh, I don't want this anymore, right? You sometimes you refund because of a technical glitch or something. Sue, you and I have like funnel stuff, like a charge got done erroneously or something like that. Then you refund that, of course, right? But anyway, my point is that we want to go above and beyond. The first part, going back to last week in sales, right? The whole idea of sales is communicating that the value of getting something is going to be more than what the investment is. Very simply, if I'm going to pay $1, all I need to know is that I'm going to get $1.10 or more of value out of that, It's very simple, where the value that I perceive I'll get is more to me than the value of the money that it's being asked for. So that's the sales game, is communicating all of that. Well, the customer service game is the same thing. It's actually now delivering that whatever was purchased, fulfilling in a way where people are like, I almost like to say, I like to, like, guilt is the goal. I think I had a flyby coaching video where guilt was the goal, where I don't want customer service. I don't even want customer satisfaction, and like you hear about, like Dr. Nito Kamane talks about loyalty, right? Like brand advocate versus brand loyalty, like brand preference versus brand loyal versus brand advocate, right? Well, I prefer Pepsi to Coke or Coke to Pepsi. Now I'm loyal. Hey, if you don't have Coke, I'll just have water then. I won't have any soda, right? To advocate, hey, you should have Coke instead of what are you drinking that for? You need to, right? These stages. So along those lines, maybe using that same model, but I want to go to like customer guilt, right? Like, I don't just want to be the preference. I don't want to just be loyal. I don't want to just be advocated, right? I want guilt. I want people to feel like, oh my God, I didn't pay enough for this. Jeff should be charging me more for this. This is so good that I'm not paying enough for this. He could have charged me more. I'd have paid it. Right? I want that. I want to serve, and I want to be so different, so special, so memorable, so lasting, so solution oriented, so tangible, so implementable, so all of it, right? That it's tongue in cheek, right? But I actually want my clients to feel guilty that they're not paying enough, that they should be paying more, that they're getting way more than what I've asked for. And so that would then spill over into, hey, you guys got to check out, right? As a matter of fact, one of the cool things, and it's not even just with the clients. I'll tell you, this was with the apprentices that I work with. Sue, that I have a pipeline to an organization that they vet digital marketing apprentices. So I pay for the membership, and I get apprentices for 10 hours a week for 90 days at a time, and in exchange for the mentoring and the access to the content. And you know how much I love mentoring young people. And one of the apprentices we have right now out of Toronto, she's a student in York, I believe, in Toronto. She says, Jeff, do you have more room for internships or apprentices? I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, my friends, there's friends in my classes and they're looking to get experience. And so in other words, it's not just with the people that I'm selling to, but I'm doing such a good job mentoring this person, right? I'm giving this person is so enamored with the resources they have access to, the freedom, the creativity they got, the guidance between me and Coach Joey, you're right. The tools that we're giving, the communication, the trust, all of that stuff that her friends are coming up to. It's like, what's going on with you? What have you been drinking? I'll have what you're having. And it's like one of the greatest compliments I gotten most recently is that an apprentice who's like working for free, essentially, in an internship, I'm not paying her, right? But I'm giving her mentoring, and I'm giving her access to content and skill development and all that stuff. So she's getting compensated like any apprenticeship or internship, but she's getting so much out of it that it spilleth over. She has to tell other people. And she asked me today in our meeting this morning, she's like, Jeff, when the 90 days is up, can I still work with you? I said, yes, you can. Absolutely. So repeat. So just even in my apprentice, I'm going to have repeat and refer. We're playing the R&R game, right? I could bring it up and screen share and show you the contact information that she gave me for the two friends of hers that are getting digital marketing and PR education. And yeah, I've got tons of stuff for people like that to do, for sure. So it's customer service isn't just somebody that's paying you. It's your vendors. It's your kids. It's your neighbors. It's your, it's not hard to be nice to people and focus on being of greater value than they expected, of greater value than they could have expected. I want to be somebody that people want to hang out with ongoing for a long time. And I want to be somebody that people want to tell others about. That is for sure. Playing the repeat and the referral game. So customer service goes beyond just fulfilling. Just, oh, you bought this, here it is. And just throwing it out there. Here you go. Catch it if you can. No. I'm bringing it to you, white gloves, red carpet with a towel draped over my arm to touch anything up. And can I get anything else for you? On and on and on. So how are we thinking about, our coaches thinking about customer service initiatives? I mean, like I said, the struggle is real. Once I've self-promoted and once I've gotten clients now, half my calendar is full with actually delivering the service. So now am I on time to my coaching appointments? Do I allow people to make recordings of the coaching sessions and download on their computer? Am I flexible with scheduling? Do I make it easy to schedule? Once somebody buys coaching, how am I serving that to them? What are all of the bells and whistles around it and the niceties? And I probably have a lot of room to grow and a lot of improvements I can make on how I serve. So far, so good, right? But I still don't call it a business. So far, so good. If I called my coaching business a business, I'd be embarrassed about my customer service initiatives, right? So they're right in par with where I'm really at, which is a thriving practice, but not yet a business with employees and departments and so forth. My initials are in every box on the org chart. Anyway, so what else?
Yeah.
What else do we got, Sue? What do you got? Comments, questions?
Yeah. So what comes to mind for me when you're talking about being able to do all of those different areas of customer service is to do that, you really need to know your client holistically.
Mm-hmm.
You also need to know those people who are doing those internships. You need to know them really well so that and the opportunity that provides is when you do know them so well is when you go or need to go beyond the parameters of what you offer. If you have those referral pathways in your system, you can still meet their needs by being able to say, hey, I don't do X, but I've got this person. And so you still are serving them by being able to help them in that way. And it starts to link back, I guess, between running a practice, a business, however you want to call it, and some of those things that we covered in those tips early in the piece. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is like I knew what tips 40 through 52 were going to be when I was writing tips 1 through 11.
Yeah.
Like I've had the luxury of like being up at the Goodyear blimp or right looking down at the whole org chart the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting to me also when you look at it from an org chart perspective, like here we go, motivation plus accountability, right? That is customer service. When they buy coaching, right? When we motivate somebody and when we hold them accountable, right? When we provide motivation, strategies, tactics, resources, or get people out of their way, or provide accountability structures, and we confront, did you do it? Yes or no? When we're doing all of that, that's customer service. So that's just all 20 tips. All 20 tips are really just these 10 and these 10. All of that is the R&R game. Right? We're delivering coaching. I'm delivering motivation plus accountability so that you get results. If you get results, you'll keep coaching with me and you'll refer other people to get coaching with me. Right? So, like it's one tip out of these 12, but this one tip has 20 tips earlier in the book.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the other thing too is what's funny to me is like last week's tip, sales is a 5-letter word, is just one tip. Right? But guess what? Earlier in the book, we had 9 tips on selling coaching. Selling our leadership, getting permission to lead. So there's 9 tips here to break down the one tip that we read last week, right? Okay, here, this is kind of funny too, since I'm being funny about it. These 2 tips, right? Or actually this tip, info out, right? Here's 11 tips on self-promotion about getting information out into the marketplace. So it's marketing. So self-promotion is marketing. Engagement and enrollment is sales, right? Motivation plus accountability is customer service, right? And practice building is operations, right? And so in other words, it all intertwines, right? It's been a fun approach to this year's book, this year's version of Get a Klu in 52. Because I do this, I've been doing this stuff every day for 17, 18 years now. And so it's interesting to see it in book form. A lot of the tips that I had communicated in the past, they weren't day-to-day tips for me. They're knowings or knowledge, in the other versions of Get A Klu in 52, like these versions right here. There's a lot of knowledge and knowing, but it's not chock full of stuff that I do every single day the way this is, right? To get it for coaches. But yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I added to your comment or confused anything, but
no. It's nice to just have those links and to go, oh yeah, okay, I can see that. So you're not talking about something that's separate. You're showing that integration.
Yeah. Well, I'm big on integration. You know that. I play the integrity game. It's like the lenses through which I see the world. And I like to, like, it's funny. I've never said it this way before. I say, here's what I have said before. Love is the adhesive, right? I've said love is the adhesive that holds it all together. And just to deviate real quick to the integrity game, in reference to the integrity game, can you see? Tell me if you can see my screen, Sue. Can you see it?
Coming.
Yeah. Okay. So you see what's highlighted there as customer service, but I just happen to have the PowerPoint for the integrity game. Can you see now the integrity game model?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So without going into detail on all 10 points, right? I use the shoelaces metaphor to communicate the laces give the shoe structural integrity so the shoe can stay on our foot, do what it's supposed to do, but to give a visual for these 10 points on the model. And anybody right now can read them in the background, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is adhesive, right? So we see these laces are an adhesive, right? What holds this 10-point model together? I used to always say that, like, love is the adhesive that keeps it together. The willingness to be vulnerable. That's what love is the willingness to be vulnerable. So when we answer these questions for ourselves, for our team, for our culture, now we're vulnerable. And now we've put out there into the world the answers to these questions are the things that we're in fact willing to be held accountable to, right? When we talk about accountability. But like, I want, these laces are holding a shoe together. Adhesive, what holds the model together? There's another way. And we can see in the org chart now, Sue, like these lines that hold and integrate everything, right? But even in the methodology, when I go earlier in my coaches training at the very beginning of this workbook, and I am kind of like humbly letting the world know that I have a really cool coaching and leadership training and a really thorough workbook. But here we go. When we look at it from this perspective, like, let's use assessments and goal setting to get people engaged or enrolled in coaching or leadership or whatever it is. And then motivation plus accountability equals results. And here's the two focuses when we're motivating and the two focuses when we're doing accountability. But what holds this whole thing together, I used to say all the time, what the adhesive that holds these three major pieces together is love. Love is what holds it together. Love is the secret sauce. Love is the special sauce. Love is the formula, the secret recipe that everybody should have the recipe to, right? I'm not guarding the recipe to love, by the way Coca-Cola guards its recipe, right? You understand what I'm getting at? Like, the adhesive for me is love and the willingness to be vulnerable. So in this, like, I like to see myself as the adhesive, right? Because a lot of people are struggling with all of the moving parts and everything's moving so fast. And especially when you're a solopreneur and you're trying to build a business, right? In this context of building a coaching practice from a hobby to income earning hobby to a practice to a business. God, there's so much confusion. There's so much that we could get overwhelmed by. And it's especially the simple enormity of being responsible for those 12 things. We can expect our business to fail to grow or to be in pain somewhere if those 12 accountabilities on the chart aren't being met. So we have 5 more to talk about as we finish up the year. And the ones that we've talked about so far are juicy. They're juicy accountabilities. What's on the menu? What marketplace are you competing in? How do they know that they can buy from you? What is your approach to selling? Right? That's where most coaches fail. They don't know how to sell coaching. They're afraid to market themselves, or they've been burned by some marketing thing that didn't work. So now they're gun shy, or they have marketing PTSD. They don't want to make another marketing mistake and send more money down the drain. I've done that. Anyway, it's funny. You just got to laugh at yourself, but it's like, it sucks in the moment, but like, what good learning? I've gotten really good at screening marketing vendors moving forward. I've been very careful with my marketing dollars moving forward after you get burned, right? But this is sexy stuff. Are we converting? Are we serving? We're going to get into like some stuff that's not my favorite, not my favorite areas of the org chart when we get into finance, right? But it still needs to be met. And even if it's like me doing my own books or getting my wife to do my books or seeing if my wife wants to do the books or if she wants me to get an accountant or whatever, and then the communication on making sure the books get done. I mean, it's not fun. I don't like it. She doesn't like it, but we got to do it. It's an accountability that's got to be met. So we'll talk about those accountabilities. There's one more in operations before we get to the 4 accountabilities that I've identified in the finances section. One more in the operations section. That'll be next week, which is know your surroundings and facilities management and understanding where does business take place and managing the where that business takes place, making sure the facilities are functional, accessible, equipped, supported, well vended, if you will, all of that stuff. So without getting too far ahead of myself, it's so funny how sometimes I'm just talking word for word off stream of consciousness, and the stuff coming out of my mouth ends up being word for word as it shows up in the book. So like I really am walking this walk, talking this talk. This is, we're in what I've been doing, every day for 17 years. So, and I'm still working hard at it. I'm still looking over my shoulder, hard on myself about the things that aren't done yet and how it hasn't evolved yet to what I can see. I mean, we're working on it every day, and it's a beautiful process. But I just want to make sure that I'm being real with the aspiring and emerging coaches out there about the realities of how hard this is, right? When we look on social media and we see somebody that's coaching or bragging about a client or an event or a talk or my book just went here or there, and some of the stuff that I've posted, people come and tell me, Jeff, it looks like you're doing great. I'm like, cool. I'm glad it looks like I'm doing great, because guess how it feels? It feels like a real struggle and a real challenge, like every day. So I don't want to be the smoke and mirror facade posturing, right? I want to be real with coaches and the people that want to be a coach or people that have decided to learn how to coach but aren't building it into income earning hobby even, let alone practice, forget about business, right? I've been an independent contractor in other coaching businesses, and I'm here to tell you there's a lot of headaches that I don't want to deal with in business that size. I was very happy to just get my assignment, do my thing, and not be responsible for any other boxes on the chart. I was just box number 7, and I got so good where I could do some box number 6 as well. Some of my assignments, they wanted more coaching from me, so I got to sell for my client, right? So I got a little commission, but I wasn't selling for my own business. I was selling for the client that gave me the assignment, right? So, but a little bit of sales, a little bit of service, fine. I don't have to do operations. I don't have to do finance. I don't have to market. I don't have to create the leads or get the hotel rooms or Facebook ads and pay-per-click and fill the rooms, butts and seats, and hire people to be in the back of the room to do the sales and the conversion. Just tell me which city to fly to and I'll coach, world-class coach, and I'll go. Anyway, so that's why I say, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? I personally don't know if I want a coaching business. You know what I'm saying? I think that I got to grow the integrity game as large as it can go. And that might be, I wouldn't even call it a coaching business. The integrity game full on, actualized, it would be a management consulting firm. It wouldn't be a coaching business. Coaching would just be one of the things that our consultants can do. But otherwise, we're a firm. We're an integrated firm of specialists that are able, it'd be a soft skill development firm or soft skill training firm or personal professional, whatever. It's emerging. It's growing, but I don't even want to call it a business. Like, I think more a firm, a collection of professionals that are capable of coming together on neat projects for really cool clients, right? So anyway, I'm digressing now. Let me see if there's anything else. My coffee's kicking in. We got a good batch, I guess. What else? What else? Anything else? Comments, questions, anything for today, Sue? Happy Thanksgiving from the United States to Australia.
Yeah, thank you. No, nothing else. I think it's some really good thoughts there.
Awesome. Well, listen, I'm gonna throw some of these things out that I'd offered earlier in the year. We talked about the 2 complimentary coaching sessions earlier today, which is like sales, and I engineered a 2-session process that completely had my coaching career take off. Like, I don't even know, I still might be working for other people for pennies on the dollar if I didn't figure out how to enroll my own clients in coaching. So if you want to understand If you want, first of all, totally free. If you want to get a video, we've got like a 20-minute video of me explaining like somewhere around 8 or 9 reasons why. Why 2 comp sessions instead of 1? Why 2 instead of 0? Why 2 instead of more than 2? I go over all of that, right? All of the what I call enrollment dysfunction that when I studied the marketplace, when I went and brought info in, I would go and I would see how other coaches were marketing themselves. I would actually put myself into their funnels, into their complimentary sessions to see how they were conducting their complimentary sessions, to study how other coaches were doing sales. And I was like, you know what? I got to change the game. So if you want to understand the reasoning behind my 2 comp sessions, just send an email to info@getaklu.net, put in the subject line why 2 comp sessions, and we'll send you that email so you understand a lot of the why. Now, if you're actually interested in getting 2 complimentary sessions, if you have not had 2 complimentary sessions with me, you can go ahead and schedule your first complimentary session right here. There's my scheduling link. Just hop on. You need to make sure that you budget 90 minutes for the first session. And I can tell you that, especially if you reference Get a Clue in 52, seeing this, on this program or whatever, I'll do my best to make sure it's me that does the sessions, right? But I have trained a collection of coaches that might be a better fit. So just be open-minded to, I might call Sue, I might call Patty, I might call Joey, I might call any of the coaches that I've trained. And when I see what kind of communication I get from you when you fill out the form, what are you looking for in coaching? What do you think? Do you need some motivation? Do you need accountability? Do you need engagement? Are you a coach that's struggling to build your practice? Do you need more mentoring? Let us know what you need. And by and large, you can expect me, but you need to be open-minded to I retain the right to deploy another specialist for the assignment if I think it's going to be better for you. So either way, go ahead and use this scheduling link to get on calendar and we'll take a look. Those are the 2 things that I want to, there's other things that I suppose I could promote, but that makes me feel good that we put something out there for people. And
good.
That's that. What else? Last call, comments, questions, anything?
Nothing else from me right now.
All right. Well, this is going to wrap up tip number 47 from Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. We got 5 weeks left after this. So the end of the year is coming up. Sue, I'm so excited about the progress we're making on the next version of Get a Clue in 52 for speakers. And got a lot of work to do in the next 5 weeks, but we're on pace. We're going to get it done. And for now, I'm grateful that you're here with me every week, making it interactive, making it dynamic. Thanks for all your support for the Get a Clue in 52 series, the Get a Clue in 52 franchise. It's nice to have fans and co-collaborators, and it's just wonderful to see you every week. So I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yes, tons of gratitude all the way around. I don't know why we only give it one day. It doesn't make sense to me. We should be in gratitude every day as far as I'm concerned. But here we are, Thanksgiving weekend in the United States. All right. So from our hearts to yours and everywhere else around the world, let's continue to be kind to ourselves and each other. I love you, Sue. I love you guys out there. Thanks for watching. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. All right.
See you. Bye.
Thanks, Sue. Bye-bye now.